And we back. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Buggers podcast, powered by Harwood Ing Basketball. I'm your host, Musa Marathi. I'm back for the recap of the region, part two. Man, I'm just gonna jump straight into it. Man, we had a plethora of great games on Friday night that are really worth remembering, and there's no better way to start off by talking about Greer beating Eastside at Eastside by 1 point. Now remember, this puts Greer at 3-0 in the region, and I talked about how Greer they had something going and is still going. Now Eastside is now 0-2 in the region, and that could be a little bit that could be a little bit frantic, but they can still get it going and get it together. But they do need to make some changes quick. And I know they have lost two very close games. And Amari did have 21 and 5, and Braden Dura had 17 and 13 boards and 5 blocks. But nonetheless, the East Side did end up losing this game, and this puts them in a tough position. And they do need to start getting these wins if they want to get back in contention in the winning region, or even making playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So this definitely puts them in a tough position and puts Greer in a great position. So congrats to Greer for winning this game. The second thing I want to talk about is Woodmont wins by 3 at Hillcrest behind Dre Huff's game-winning three-pointer at the buzzer. I saw this clip on Instagram, and it was a tough shot for sure. They got the board, and Dre had the confidence, and I'm happy about it, man. Him having the confidence in himself to take the shot and call game at Hillcrest in a crowded, loud gym is just it's tough, man. And he was able to bring it home for them, and this puts Woodmont at 2-0. Them and Teohana both 2-0. Now, let me go ahead and switch it up to 3A. I did put this on my story on I believe Friday. Zentario Spurgeon dropped 40 points in a close victory over Blue Ridge, putting them at 2-1 and second in their region. Like I had talked about, Carolina, as long as Z Spurgeon is doing his thing, they can always be in contention for winning a game. And him dropping 40 definitely put him in that contention. I've talked about him a little bit over the season, and although they had fallen off, man, they're here, and they are 2-1 in their region. And this also, I did not mention, TR is still in the lead for their region, but nonetheless, Carolina is still making their way. Now, fourth thing I had to mention is how Spartanburg is now 2-0 in their region after starting off the season. What would I say, 2-8 at one point? They did defeat Gaffney, and they are in a tough region. They still have yet to play Dorman or Boiling Springs, but they beat Burns, and Burns was, I'm pretty sure, projected to win second in their region. And I put them as an A tier in my little rankings I did way earlier in the season. So they beat a solid team, and Gaffney, even they can bring it out any night. They have solid players, but they did get it done, and that puts them at 2-0 in the Spartanburg County 5A region. Fifth thing I had to mention is how Wade Hampton bounces back after the loss last week to Greer behind, and they defeated Lawrence by 25, and behind Coops, almost 20-point triple-double. I saw he had 20 points, about 9 rebounds and 8 assists, which is just wild how he had 8 assists with 20 points. And Nikel's 24 points. Nikel's always going to score, but, just having those other guys around him, Coop, putting it together, CJ, just KD, all of them, man. If they're all putting it together, it's very hard to stop them. And I hope they can continue to build this camaraderie with each other and just get it going, because they're also in contention for winning that region. And although they've lost one, they can still bounce back right now, and it's anybody's game. Someone just has to beat Greer. Another thing I wanted to mention is how Hannah, which I mentioned, they are 2-0 in their region, wins by 22 over Man, putting Man at 0-2. Now, Man has lost did lose a tough game to Woodmont earlier in the week, but them losing this game by 22 definitely puts them in a rough spot. And they do now. Malden is also 0-1, I believe, but this definitely puts Man in a place where they have to start winning these games against these tougher schools. Because I mean, in 5A, all games are going to be tough. There's no easy games, and I hope they can continue or can at least begin to start coming together and win it, and just at least contending and winning these games. And Hannah seems to just be mopping through. I'm ready to see the Hannah versus Woodmont game. That's the game to watch. That's the game for region at this point. Fifth thing, or at this point, I don't even know what note I'm on, but Malden catches a break over Riverside in a non-region game. Malden did beat Riverside, who is 2-0 in their respective region. Malden is a 5A school, while Riverside is a 4A, but nonetheless, those schools they're about equal level, and Malden did beat them by about 6 points. And Braden was actually explaining it to me how at least that puts them in a good spot. Now that they've won a game, hopefully this can continue over into region. As like I said, there's no easy games in Region 5A, so they definitely got to come together with their young roster and catch a dub next week. This one was a close one. Burns beats Boiling Springs in the 5A region by 1 point. Now, Burns, who was projected to win second in their region, or at least one of the top positions, they have. I wouldn't say that they've been they kind of have been struggling in region. I did watch them play Malden, and they were able to get the dub by about 15-20 that game. And Malden is another 5A, but right now in region, they're definitely showing that other teams can compete with them. Boiling Springs, led by Trey Locklear and Dom Johnson, they're always going to come out and compete, and they're always ready to compete no matter who they're going up against. But Burns really had to play their best game against Boiling Springs, and there's really goes to show that there's no easy games in 5A. Once again, I will repeat it. There's no easy games. Dorman did beat Boiling Springs by about 15 earlier in the week, but even for them, they're not just out here mopping teams around. There's always going to be close games, and they got to be ready for this. So Burns is now 1-1 in region, which is good to see, and hopefully they can continue to build wins after getting this one tonight. The next thing I have is Greenville destroys Greenwood and is now 2-0 in region. I did look to see, and right now it's Westside and Greenville at 2-0. And even though Greenville did only win by 9 on Tuesday, they definitely picked it up tonight, or not tonight, but on Friday against Greenwood, and really just came together in the second half. I saw, and just put them to sleep, put them to rest, and they are able to go to. And they are now 2-0 and in the lead for their region with Westside. And like I've been saying all season, that's the game. We all know that's the game. Greenville versus Westside. That's who's gonna win region right there. That's to see who wins region. So can't wait to see that game. But for now, good work for Greenville, and they are now 2-0. Now, close to the end here, I got Christchurch is looking very dominant in their 1A region, which I'm not surprised. They got a 7-footer in Jordan Butler, or 6'10", however y'all want to say it. He's way taller than the competition. And after they destroyed Brazier on Tuesday, they basically destroyed High Point, who I felt like was competitive in their region, which, I mean, I guess, when you have a 6'10" guy to go to, and just that on defense as well, it's hard to score in the paint. You're basically relying on outside shots. And even with a guy like Ali Khan, maybe your guys aren't getting as many rebounds. And, solid point guard in DJ Harvey, and they have Woods Wyndham on their team. They've just been looking really very dominant in their 1A, and I think they should be competing for state in their 1A region. They shouldn't be worried about. Well, of course they should be worried about region, but they need to be looking forward to those playoffs, because they definitely have a good chance with this team they have this year. And Jordan should be driving to get himself another ring after his brother did it 2 years ago with him alongside. Next thing I have written down is Berea bounces back in a defeat they beat Pickens, and that puts them at 1-1 in region as well. So they're in the region with Greenville, and after losing to Greenville earlier in the week by 13, I believe they lost to Greenville by. If I say Greenville won by 9, I meant to say Greenville beat Berea by 13, and now that puts Berea at 1-1 in region. So that's good to see, and they can keep it going. Hopefully, they can keep it going. Lastly, I have here is Southside takes down Powdersville and advances to 2-1 in their region, behind Jaden Johnson, 17 points. Jaden Johnson, a really solid guard in the 8th grade class, just putting it on for Southside right now, has been playing really well in the last couple of weeks, and I think he's gotten his confidence for sure. And it's just a very prominent guard for them, and really just brings their offense to life. You know, they need him to play well at this point if they want to win games, and it was good to see that he played well. So that puts them behind. I think I forgot who they're behind, but I believe they're behind Ren. I think they're behind Ren right now, who is 3-0 in their region. But they're still in a solid position, and good luck to Southside in the coming games that they have. But yep, that will about do it for tonight.